जय सद्गुरुदेव। ब्रह्म विद्या प्रकाश में मोहते मेरे तम जाय, देव सदा फल प्रभु दया, तब ही संत मत पाय। जय सद्गुरुदेव। I bow down to the lotus petal of Master of Meditation, Sadguru Sadafal Dev Ji Maharaj, to bless and grace today's session and guide each one of us in our respective spiritual awakening and help us remain connected to the Supreme Power, the highest authority at all times. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening to one and all. Jai Sadgurudev. Once again, I'm here to welcome you all in the online Global Meditation Challenge series, day 19th. By now, you all must be aware that Vihangam Yoga Meditation team, especially the Singapore Vihangam Yoga Meditation team, it has been organizing many exciteful challenges and events to keep encouraging each one of us in various forms and keep us motivated for the spiritual awakening. For those who are now aware of Vihangam Yoga and the new ones, please allow me to introduce a bit about it. Vihangam Yoga organization is an NGO, a pioneer in yoga and advanced meditation training for the upliftment of the human lives in all aspects. The Vihangam Yoga organization was established in the year 1924 by His Holiness Sadguru Sadafal Dev Ji Maharaj, who discovered this wonderful meditation technique after 17 years of strenuous meditation practice. Today, under the guidance of the present Sadguru, His Holiness Shri Sadguru Swatantra Dev Ji Maharaj, Vihangam Yoga has reached around more than 45 countries and has transformed lives of more than 5 million disciples around the globe. Our international headquarters is situated on the bank of the holy river called Ganges in Prayagraj, Allahabad, that is India. Vihangam Yoga is also affiliated member of United Nations Economic and Social Development. While we all are connected for this global online meditation challenge, I feel pride and thankful to share that the largest center of Vihangam Yoga is being constructed under the name of Swarveg Mahamandir, situated in Varanasi, Uttar Pradesh, India, where around 20,000 spiritual seekers can sit together and meditate. I, on behalf of the Vihangam team, strongly recommend to visit this holy temple and seek the blessings in the purest vibrations from Sadguru. On this note, to start with today's session, I take pleasure to invite Chandan Singh Ji to please seek the blessings from Sadguru by singing short prayers of Swagat Gan and Mangal Gan. Over to you, Chandan Singh Ji.
जय सद्गुरुदेव। स्वागत है। आज स्वागत नित्य गुरुवर संत शुभागम आए, अध्यात्म विद्या दिव्य ज्योति सोम रस बरसाए, दोष दुर्गुण दूर करिके शुद्ध हंस बनाए, भेद गम गति ज्ञान गर्जन शक्ति द्वार हटाए, खुले द्वारा शब्द सागर भक्त जन अनवाई, जन सदा फल विश्व शिक्षक सान आन बचाइए। आज स्वागत नित्य गुरुवर संत शुभागम आइए। मंगलगान। विश्व शांति नाम मंगल परम गुरु को ध्याइए। वर्ग द्वंद्व शांति दूर कर भाव भेद मिटाइए। सार्वभौम समष्टि सत्ता ध्यात्म राज्य बनाइए। भेष भाषा भाव जग में ज्ञान पर दर्शाइए। समृद्धि सुख शांति धरातल स्वर्ग भूमि बनाइए। विश्व शिक्षक जन सदा फल नीति स्वर अपनाइए। विश्व शांति नाम मंगल परम गुरु को ध्याइए। प्रेम से बोलिए सद्गुरुदेव भगवान की जय।
Jai Sadgurudev. Thank you, Chandan ji, for the blessings from Sadguru. Coming to today's session, for which our audiences are connected from around the globe, we have a very interesting topic of discussion about Sanskrit. Sanskrit is a sacred language of Hinduism, the language of classical Hindu physiology and of historical texts of Buddhism and Jainism. Sanskrit is a standardized dialect of the old Indo-Aryan originating as Vedic Sanskrit. Sanskrit is believed to have been the general language of the greater Indian subcontinent in ancient times. And therefore, to know more in detail about this script and how it impacts us in our daily lives, we have our expert, the guest for today, Praveena ji. Before we start our session, a quick introduction about Praveena ji. She is a multifaceted personality. She is a perfect blend of strong academic credentials, followed by passionate commitment to Santana Dharma, Sanskritam, and Sri Vaishnav. To add on, Praveena ji's academic credentials include Executive Program in Business Management, IIM Kolkata, Masters in Computer Applications, Bachelor's in Commerce. In addition, Praveena ji is a practitioner of alternative medicine, a neuro-linguistic programming practitioner, a certified hypnotherapist. She is also a public speaker. Praveena ji has participated in various debates in television channels on current affairs, spoken on cultural ethos of Bharatam. Praveena ji's video-based lectures include Sri Anders Thirupavai, deeply researched work on Bhagavan Sri Krishna's name in Srimad Bhagavad Gita in a 100-episode series called Nama Gita, fundamentals of Sanatana Dharma, various aspects of maths, astronomy, literature, science, etc., all in Sanskritam. Direct lectures in the public platforms from her include Yesterday, that is Tomorrow, an importance on Sanskritam and Sanskriti, Andal and Our Ancestors, Srimad Bhagavad Gita and Management, Women in Santana Dharma, delivered several spoken Sanskritam classes. Also, Praveena ji has been the author of a book named tip of iceberg, sharing interesting cross-cultural analysis. Praveena ji's ebook on Swami Sri Vendata Sri Kan has been published as Immersing in Desika Anubhavam by Sadagopam.organization. So here we humbly take pleasure to invite Praveena ji on this platform to please grace this occasion and give us a guidance and an insight about it. Over to you, Praveena ji. Jai Sadgurudev.
Namaste. On behalf
Hello,
of...
ma'am.
Yeah, namaste.
Jai
Am I audible?
Sadgurudev. Yes, you are. Please.
Namaste. On behalf of Samskrita Bharati, Singapore, it's our pleasure to share our learnings and a little bit of exposure to Sanskritam Sanatana Dharmam is really where a lot of hidden knowledge is. So we are very happy to share a glimpse or the tip of the iceberg of what Sanskritam has to offer to all of you who all are deeply dwelling into the dhyana, the meditation. So at this point of time, I would like to thank Vihangam Yoga Singapore for giving us this opportunity. Thank you so much, Subhash Mahodaya and Deepali ji for this wonderful introduction. So let me get started with a short prayer. Jnananandamayam devam nirmalaspatikakritim adharam sarva vidyanam Hayagrivam upasmahe. Jnanam Anandamayam Devam. So we offer our salutations to the Lord, who is a knowledge embodiment, because of which he is filled with happiness. So happiness and knowledge always goes hand in hand in our lineage, in our Sanatana Dharma. Wherever there is knowledge, we speak about eternal happiness. We speak about eternal bliss. So the more knowledge we acquire, it's going to lead us to a lot of happiness. And when we speak of meditation or dhyana, we contemplate on something. Typically, most of them start with pranava. So the pranava nada is something that people say, people recite, people listen to, dwell themselves. And there is a state where nothing is seen, and then a lot of revelations happen, after which everything seems to be seen, and they share this knowledge. This becomes a cyclic thing. So when the knowledge is shared, it's against words. Words again lead us to this beautiful mind, which is into contemplation, which is into meditation. That again gives a lot of eureka moments, revelations, and then experiences, which is shared. So this cycle, always keeps going on, where there is a big input from dhyana into Sanskritam, and again, Sanskritam leading to contemplation or dhyana. So both are actually interdependent without even realizing us. We all practice that, So this interdependency is really beautiful, where the feed keeps coming in. So the beautiful name for knowledge is vid. Vid jnane, we say. The very terminology vid, which is the root word in Sanskritam for knowledge, is vid. That is where the word Vedas come from. All of us are familiar with the word Veda. Veda, all of us know, are of 4 types: Rig Veda, Yajur Veda, Sama Veda, and Atharva Veda. Now, what are these 4 Vedas? Why are we calling it as knowledge sources? Because Vedas are knowledge. With, as I said, it's knowledge. Now, what is contained in these 4 Vedas? Why are we calling Vedas as the knowledge source? Is something which is very interesting for us to think about. Now, when we speak about Vedas, the Rig Veda is supposed to be the oldest text that is available to humankind. In fact, it has been acknowledged by the Western world also that the oldest text, possibly 7,000 to 8,000 years old, is our Rig Veda. Now, we speak about timelines in a very, very different way. We speak of yugas, where we have Kali Yuga itself, which is a huge span of time. Prior to that, we have the Dwapara Yuga, when Krishna was born. Prior to that, we have what we call as the Treta Yuga, where Bhagavan Ram was born. Prior to that, we had Krita Yuga, where many other avatars happened. So we have 4 yugas. And we say that Vedas have always been there. All this knowledge has always been there. So where has all this knowledge been? We speak about the universal knowledge, which has always been existing. What do we mean by universal knowledge? Now, the universal knowledge is the sound waves, which is there everywhere. When we sit for meditation, how is it we get certain inputs which were not clear when we were awake? That knowledge was present somewhere around us. And we connect to the ultimate and we realize, how come I did not think about this earlier, right? So that knowledge which is there universally, that knowledge which was the seed of the cosmic creation, what is it that makes the planets stay where they are? What is it that makes the planets move the way they do? What is it that makes the tree grow? What is it that makes a baby cry? The moment baby is born, we don't teach anything to the baby. The baby cries. The bird flies. Water flows from a higher level to a lower level. Fire always grows from a lower level to a higher level. Where is all this knowledge coming from? With Jnane. This is the universal cosmic knowledge. And this knowledge is revealed when we contemplate deep enough. So we keep thinking about it, we keep focusing about it, we dwell on it, and wow, that knowledge is, given to us. Vishwamitra Maharishi is supposed to be the one who gave all of us the Gayatri Mantra. Now, how did he learn the Gayatri Mantra? We don't say that he created the mantra. We say Gayatri Mantra was revealed to Vishwamitra Maharishi. So the cosmic knowledge was revealed to Vishwamitra Maharishi, who shared it with everybody. Similarly, a lot of such revelations have been happening to a lot of people who have been focusing and dwelling deep into whatever they wanted to. And we call them as Maharishis. Rishis who were dwelling on certain things, get the appropriate knowledge. We might say they are scientists of today, but we call them Maharishis. So we had Kanada Maharishi, who was the first person to speak about atomic structures. We have an entire scientific structure which was propounded by Kanada Maharishi. We have great people who've given such deep research on mathematics. We have people who have experienced a lot of revelations on astrology. They've shared it with us. So such great information is all from the cosmic source, which is with Jnane. So such great contents in the seed form is contained in our Vedas. Whenever it is given in the form of rigs or hymns, we call it as Rig Veda, because Vedavyasa Maharishi, Krishna Dvaipayana was his original name, Vyasanam Karoti, he compiled the Vedas. Therefore, we classified them into primarily 3 groupings. Whatever was in the hymn form was called as Rig Veda. Whatever was actually in the form of a music was Samaveda. The prose order was Yajurveda. And Atharva Veda, the 4th one, has a compilation of all these. So it is called Atharva Veda. So the groupings are actually 3 based on its nature, whether it is hymns or whether it's music or whether it is prose. A compilation of all these 3 are there in the 4th Veda, Atharva. So Veda Trayi is also used Four Vedas are also used. So that is the source of all our knowledge, as you see here. So the knowledge source, which is the Vedas, are Rig, Yajus, Sama, Atharva. Ayurveda, today all of us are familiar with, it's for all the preventive health measures and for longevity of life. People say that if we follow Ayurveda to the T, we can live the full lifespan of 120 years. So that is again from Atharva Veda as its source. So everything is in the seed format, the cryptic form in our Vedas. So this Vedas was revealed to certain Maharishis. And when Bhagavan Shiva was dancing with his Damaru sound, right? Daga, 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 daga. One Maharishi was doing a focused contemplation on the sound. As I said, everything is the cosmic sound from which the knowledge source comes, right? So at that point, the Rishi heard certain beautiful sounds. He observed it, contemplated on it, and he started hearing it as I-un, rilik, a-on, I-ouch, hay-avarat, lan, nyamagananam. So those tak, 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 those sounds were heard by him. Now, these sounds, 14 different sounds, when he focused on it, he came out with the beautiful concept of Vyakarana in Sanskrit. So from the Maheshwara, from Lord Shiva, the entire sound of his Damaru Shabda, as observed by the Rishi, Panini Maharishi, evolved into what we call as the Ashtadhyayi in Sanskrit's literature. So the grammar that is used even today, which people say, is created by the best of the brains people have ever known in the history of mankind, that is Panini Maharishi, which even today people are like, oh my God, this part, how do we understand that it was available earlier? The kind of structures that we see in, very, very complicated computer programming today, the references, the nested looping, how, a sub-program can access the main program, what are the conditions based on which, exceptions are given, a lot of such complicated things, giving references, keywords, labels, everything has been used by Panini Maharishi, who lived like 2,000, 3,000 years back, or even prior to that, has all these contents, and his entire Grantha of 8 chapters contains, all the cryptic slogans, which we call as sutras in Sanskrit. When you understand it, the entire grammar is in your hands. In fact, it is not mere grammar. It is something which helps us to understand the universal cosmic knowledge. Only with the knowledge of Vyakarana, especially what we use today is the Ashtadhyayi, we can understand even the Vedas. Imagine reading a novel without knowing English grammar, right? If you want to read an English novel, you need English grammar. If you want to understand the Vedas, you have to have the Vyakarana. So Panini Maharishi's revelation came from the Maheshwara Sutra, which gave us the entire Ashtadhyayi, which is the Vyakarana or grammar of Sanskrit. So this goes to tell us how interconnected our contemplation or meditation is to the Samskrita Bhasha. So with this fundamental idea of the interconnected feeling that we understand, we said there are 4 groupings of the Vedas, which is Rig Veda, Yajur Veda, Sama Veda, and Atharva Veda. Vedavyasa Maharishi actually compiled these Vedas into different groups for us. Now, when he did the compilation, all of us started understanding it in a, we are supposed to understand it relatively easier rather than the, whole group of Vedas, which is massive, which can't be understood in one word. We need to, have several words to understand, the depth of Vedas. It's very, very deep. Only a little bit of that knowledge is revealed. There is so much which is not yet revealed. So it is unending. You know, the knowledge contained in the Vedas are unending. So a small little story for us to understand how very beautiful this concept is. Once, sage Sanat Kumara, who is a mind-born son of Brahma, Brahma's Manasa Putra, he is a very, very knowledgeable person. He is a guru for many learned people. So he was approached by Devarishi Narada. Now, Devarishi Narada wanted to learn from Maharishi Sanat Kumara. So, Devarishi basically knows everything, right? What did he have to learn? So, Sanat Kumara Maharishi asks our Narada, okay, so you've come here to learn. Even before we explore on what you need to learn, tell me what all you know, you know? So, usually when a student has to get admission, they are interviewed, right? So now Devarishi Narada is being interviewed by Sanat Kumara Maharishi. So with all humility, sage Narada says, I know Rig Veda, Yajur Veda, Sama Veda, and Atharva Veda. These are the first 4 things I know. Think about it. Knowing Vedas is like next to impossible. Now, sage Narada says he knows the Vedas. Okay. And then he goes on to say, I know the Itihasas and Puranas. So our Itihasas are the Ramayana, Mahabharata. We have the 18 Mahapuranas and many smaller Puranas, right? So Devarishi Narada knows all these. And then he says, Vedanam Vedam, you know, whatever is required to understand the Veda, like the Vyakarana that I was telling now, the grammar, I know all those, says Devarishi Narada. And then he says, Pitriyam, whatever has to be done to the ancestors, you know, those kind of rituals, I'm familiar with. Rashim, I know about mathematics. Daivam, so he speaks about the, you know, the natural omens, how to read certain omens. So I know those concepts. Then he says, Nidim, which is a very, very interesting thing. I would want to speak a little about that. He says he knows about the underground resources. You know, suppose we want water, it's available underground. So how to identify it, how to source water, how to identify what is there, which is, you know, rich for agriculture location, which is, you know, good in other areas. Where is mica available? Those kind of things, you know. He knows all those information. So he speaks about Nidim. Vako Vakya Mekayanam. So he says about, you know, I know everything about the logic, you know, which is required for debates and to establish our purpose. I know about Ekayanam, I know about moral science. Deva Vidyam, I know about astrology. Brahma Vidyam, I know about the knowledge that's contained in the Vedas itself. Bhuta Vidyam, I know about geology. Shastra Vidyam, I know about warfare. Nakshatra Vidya, I know everything about astrology or astronomy. Both are included in the Nakshatra Vidya or Jyotisha Shastra. Sarpa Vidya, I know all the details about snakes and related things. Deva Jana Vidya, everything about fine arts, he knows. And then he says, Bhagavaha Etad Adyemi, you know, these are certain things that I know. And then with all humility, he prostrates, you know, he does his namaskara to Sanat Kumara Maharishi. And he says, now I'm here to learn from you. And this is contained in our Upanishad. What I read just now to you is from Chandogya Upanishad, the 7th chapter, 2nd sloka. So here, Devarishi Narada is telling the Maharishi that he knows all these, but he's there to learn from Sanat Kumara Maharishi. 2 very, very interesting things that we have to observe here. Number 1, even if we have learned a lot, humility is very important. The urge to learn is very important. And only when that is exhibited with humility, knowledge transfer can ever happen. That's number 1. Number two, the number of things that is listed by Devarishi Narada tells us what kind of knowledge was available during our ancient times. You know, we knew about hydrology, we knew about astronomy, we knew about, all the different knowledge sources which was listed by Devarishi, how to read the omens, how to understand mathematics, everything. So it is a huge list, and that entire knowledge was available to all of us. So that is the scope of knowledge which is available in our Sanskrit literature, which is mentioned in Chandogya Upanishad, which makes it a very, very interesting learning. And after that, he wants to learn about, the Atma Vichara. So Upanishad continues with the knowledge of the Atma. So I spoke about the four Vedas. To understand the four Vedas, I gave an example of how Vyakarana is used. We need 6 different Vedangas, like when we have a body, we need the limbs, the feet, all the organs, the eyes, the ears, everything, in order to make the body functional. So in order to understand the Vedas, we need the Vedangas. So Shiksha is how you pronounce everything. Vyakarana is the grammar part of it. All these are loose translations, not exact translations, because we don't have equivalents in other languages. Chandas is the meter, for the rhythm of the poetry in which the slokas or the mantras are mentioned. Kalpa are the rituals, practices which are performed to achieve whatever we want to. Nirukta is like the etymology, what is the root word, how do we derive the different words, how do we understand it based on its derivation. Jyotisha includes both astrology and astronomy, especially to fix the timing of all the rituals that needs to be performed. All these are called as the Vedangas. Now, only a person who's equipped with the knowledge of Vedangas can understand Vedas. We have what we call as the Upangas, the Mimamsa. The Vedas, the first part is the Purva Mimamsa, the later part is the Uttara Mimamsa. We have the Nyaya Vistara, which is a lot about logic, reasoning, debating, how to establish our point and things like that. And then we ask, okay, now logically, I understand everything. I understand the theory part of it. But for me to really understand it in my language, have there been people who've been there, done it? Can you give me some examples? Can you give me examples customized in a way I can understand, So all those are mentioned in Puranas. So it is like, it gives you real life anecdotes, history of people who've been there, lived it. It gives a lot of symbolisms, metaphors, examples depending on the recipient, customizing it, simplifying it, or, giving a big picture or getting into the details. All those are done in the different Puranas. So Puranas is based on, what we need as examples. Dharma Shastra is a compilation from Ramayana, Mahabharata, the Itihasas, so many rules based on which we can live our life. Okay. So all those are compiled as Dharma Shastras. These are called as the Upangas. It's like, you have your hand, you need fingers, right? So all these help us to crystallize our knowledge. What are all these for? It is for our benefit to implement and make our life as effective as possible. So the application part of it is called as the Upper Vedas. So for example, I told you that Ayurveda, the life science, is based on the Atharva Veda, right? Its source is from the Atharva Veda. So that helps us in longevity. Today we know about yoga, which helps us with longevity, which gives us, fitness for life, which teaches us breathing. So the dhyana, the meditation we do, has pranayama in it. So controlling our prana is one way for us to, achieve focus, enhance our memory power, reduce our distraction, a lot of things. Dhanurveda is all about warfare, getting our military base ready, having the courage to do what we want to do is gained by Dhanurveda. keeping the opponents at bay, protecting our country, everything is because of Dhanurveda. Gandharva Veda is all about music, dance, the theaters, everything is under Gandharva Veda. Arthashastra is about management, it's about economics, it's about politics, everything like that, is contained in the Arthashastra. So all these are the application of the different knowledge sources that we have. So these are called as the Vidyasthanas. The 4 Vedas, 6 Vedangas, and then the 4 Upangas together are called as the 14 Vidyasthanas. And the 4 Upper Vedas are called as the 4 Dharmasthanas. Or together people also call it as the 18 Vidyasthanas, In addition, we have all the different art forms, right? So, in fact, in Srimad Bhagavatam, it is mentioned that Krishna learned 64 kalas in 64 days. So we have a huge list of the different art forms that's available, which is 64 approximately. In some Puranas, we call it 72. So 64 different art forms are generally mentioned, which was available to us. So all these are the huge repository that we have. Now, where do we start? There is huge information base available. And we know that dhyana or meditation and our Sanskritam is interconnected. How do we start and how do we make use? Because we know that Vedas can't be learned even in one birth, right? So we need several births to understand, what it is. Where do we start? Our elders have always been thinking about what is good for us, how to simplify information, how to give us what we are capable of doing. So they have given us an extremely simplified form, which is a great gift package, which is the oral tradition. The sounds have so much of vibration that it can give us the result that we want. Sometimes we feel, oh my God, I recite certain mantras, I don't even know the meaning of it. People say Vedas are there, but I don't know what is the meaning of Vedas. Where do I start? How do I go ahead, right? So now these Vedas, the good news is the sound itself can give us that vibration, which can result in the outcome for which we are doing that particular japa. So we don't know the meaning, no problem. We don't have to know the meaning. Even if we don't know, that these are the properties of fire, you touch the fire, it will burn your hand, right? Oh, I don't know anything about fire, but fire is still burning my hand. That is the property of fire. So the Veda mantras will have its, utility, whether or not we know about it. So that is the message that's given by our elders. So what happens here is different sounds use different parts of our vocal cord, depending on from where the voice comes from, it will have a different impact. So we can have words which are called as oshta coming from our lips. Ooh, that kind of a sound. It's all from the oshta. We can have nasal sounds, anunasika sounds. We can have danta, certain sounds which have to use your teeth. Even the word danta means teeth, right? So you can never say the word danta without touching your teeth. Danta. Try telling danta without touching the teeth. You can never say danta. Similarly, we have locations which are, touching the soft palate, which touches the kanta or comes from the throat, etc., etc. Now, what is important to us here is that depending on where the sound comes from, it is going to, reach different part of our brain. So when we use certain sounds, different waves, sound waves, trigger the different parts of our brain, which in turn is going to help us utilize the maximum part of our brain. We will use a lot of capacity of our brain, which will strengthen our brain. Therefore, here if you look, the kavarga, ka, ga, ga, all those sounds are from the back of the throat. It's all the guttural sounds. All those like the cha, cha, ja, ja are from the hard palate of your tongue. Ta, ta, da, da is all from the soft palate. Ta, ta, da, da is all using your dental. And pa, pa, ba, ba uses your lips. So when you use certain aksharas, it triggers certain parts of your brain. So today, Sanskritam is used by speech therapists to identify where the problem is for those who suffer from cleft palate disorder. So the direct application is there in the medical field where, if a person is not able to pronounce a certain word or certain alphabet, how do you identify it? Sanskritam comes in handy because that is one language which uses all parts of your mouths. In fact, when you're doing your meditation, you use the pranava, right? The comes from deep down your throat. In fact, it is supposed to come from your navel. The nabi is where the sound should be produced. And then you say, oo, ma makes the pranava. So when you say oo, it actually, the lips don't even touch. When you say ma, the lips touch each other. It closes. So a complete cycle from your inner part to the lip is done by pranava. That is why it's said to be the ultimate sound which covers all the other possible sounds. Akara, ukara, makara, inner, middle or the lip, and then the closure, ma. Ma. We can try telling that by ourselves. It's from the deep inside. From your lips. Ma. You will close your lips. So that is the pranavakara shabda, which the entire cosmic creation is said to be made. And now this how many ways can we pronounce Because is a very powerful sound, right? Bhagavan Krishna in Bhagavad Gita says, Aksharanam akarosmi. I am among all the aksharas. Now, how many ways can be said? It's usually is right? In Sanskritam, we have different ways of pronouncing this. One is saying it in the high pitch, saying it in the low pitch, and in the neutral. There are three ways of it. You can tell it in a small way using only one beat, or you can elongate it, or you can extend it even further. This is called as Hrasva, Dirgha, and Pluta. Now, for example, when Rama went behind the golden deer, Maricha, who was in the form of the deer, screamed out for Sita and Lakshmana, right? So that they would come and help him out. So how did he say Rama, Lakshmana, right? He extended a word, Lakshmana. So that is called Plutam, where you extend a word. You call a person who's far away. So that will have 3 beats or more than 2 beats, which is called as Pluta. So are the 3 words. And then every pronunciation can be used through our mouth, or we can use it in a nasal way also. Nasal mode of usage can also be possible. So what happens here is 3 ways, Udata, Anudata, Swarita, times Hrasva, Dirgha, Pluta, so which is 3 times 3, 9. Again, times Mukha and Nasika, which is into 2. So 3 times 3 times 2, which is 9 times 2, 18 different ways the alphabet can be pronounced in Sanskrit. Now imagine the variety of options our sounds can create. That is why people say the Bijakshara, just by meditating on one Akshara itself, can have several benefits. So what our ancestors have done is they've combined the appropriate Aksharas, making our sound very, very powerful for meditation, for contemplation. In fact, they advocated the rote memory to by heart it exactly the way it is supposed to be by hearted, so that we get the best impact of whatever our result is. So it is all result oriented tying up of different aksharas to give us the benefit. So that was the reason why mantra should never be altered. Mantras have to be pronounced exactly the way it should so that it can give us the best benefit. So let's take one mantra, for example. This is the very first mantra of Rig Veda. So we have heard of, Rig Veda as the oldest text. We just discussed about it. So this is about Agni, which says, Agni Mile Purohitam. So whether we are in North or South or international borders, different countries, wherever, you would notice that Mile will always be that way only. People will recite it that way. Why? Because it is of the rule that we just discussed. Udata, Anudata, Swarita, Rasva, Dirgha, Pluta. These rules are existing when we recite every mantra. And the oral tradition is very, very specific. It has 11 degrees of accuracy to ensure that the mantras are recited the way it should. Because the sound energy is very, very important to give us the results. Today, scientists have done different researches where the neuroscientist has explored something called as the Sanskrit effect, where the MRI scans show that when we recite these great ancient mantras, there is a physical increase also in the size of the brain regions which are associated with cognitive function. So earlier we used to ridicule rote memory, but that was the simplest way to expand our brain cells. So the neuroscientists today call it as the Sanskrit effect. In fact, you can Google for it. There is a YouTube also available if you just type it as Sanskrit effect, where it was news from the Doordarshan itself, where they've explained about, the positive impact these sound waves of Sanskrit mantras have on the brain. A very interesting thing which happened, in our history is there were these beautiful verses which I was just explaining about the Agni Mile Purohitam, the first ever mantra from the Rig Veda, right? Now, all of us know about Thomas Alva Edison. He invented so many things. He had also invented what is the gramophone. It used to look like one big disc, which was possibly the great grandfather of our today's DVDs, or the CDs. So Thomas Alva Edison, invented the gramophone, and he wanted to record all worthy knowledge, for the human voice posterity. So he was thinking of who would be the right eminent scholar to do his first recording. And he chose Max Muller, and he recorded Max Muller's voice. He wanted to play it to a lot of scholars, the same day post-lunch. At that point of time, Max Muller was also available. So he was there. And this exciting recording for the first time in, the gramophone was played by Thomas Alva Edison. And Max Muller, as all of us know, was a very eminent Sanskrit scholar. So he asked them, do you all know what was it that was recited by me? And people were not aware because it sounded very different to them. So they were not sure of what the recording was. And then Max Muller explained that this was the first mantra from Rig Veda, which are the oldest, manuscript that we have. And he explained that this is a mantra about Agni, and this belongs to this particular chandas, and all those information was explained by Max Muller to the scholars who were present there. So history was actually created by reciting the beautiful mantra. So there is a lot of very, very interesting things where scientists acknowledge the scientific aspects of our great literature that is available to us. So that was the gramophone reciting Agni Mile Purohitam. There was a great research which was done by Dr. Fred Travis of Maharishi University. He did an analysis on the effects of meditation and the effects of reading Sanskrit. So I'll focus only on these two columns now, and only the 2 rows for want of time. So here, the first one, the EEG and coherence, was absolutely, interesting. If you observe the results, effect of meditation, EEG and coherence increased, which means how we connect information, how we compile information, all those increase, our coherence capacity increases when we do meditation. And the same result is acquired when we read Sanskritam. And yet another interesting thing is the rate of our breathing. Our breath rate, when we do meditation, it decreases. So also while we read Sanskritam. Now think about it. Whenever we are relaxed, when we do pranayama, when we are in dhyana, when we are absolutely not focusing on the rat race in the outside world, we are so peaceful and our breathing is relaxed and deep. Whenever we take birth, Vedas say that we can live for 100 years. Shatamanam bhavati shatayuh purusha, you may live for 100 years, say the Vedas. Now, think about a prepaid card which has a talk time of 300 minutes. Now it's valid for 3 months. 300 minutes valid for 3 months. There is one person who uses a little bit every day and utilizes the 3 months completely, with the 300 minutes. Another person keeps talking day in and day out over the phone. Within the first 10 days, he's exhausting all the 300 minutes of talk time, right? So now what happens here is we are given 100 years of lifetime to live. How we use our breathing is going to determine how long we actually live. Whether it is going to be for, all the 100 or 120 years that's given to us, or are we going to be fast track and complete it fast and, get going, just like our prepaid SIM. So handling our rate of breathing, pranayama, we have to control our breathing, extend it so that we can extend our lifespan. That is very important. How do we do it? Meditation helps us to control our rate of breathing. Reading Sanskritam also controls our rate of breathing, unlike so many other situations where we keep panting, right? So many other things we do make us pant and reduces our lifespan itself. So this is one of the greatest benefits which we can think of, both for meditation and reading Sanskrit. So to all our well-wishers, we have to, request them to start doing meditation and reading Sanskrit. So I'll just take another 2-3 minutes to wrap up my final thoughts. First surgeon, the world's first surgeon, Sushruta, was a Maharishi who did rhinoplasty, and the plastic surgery was very common at that point of time in Bharatam. And today we are acknowledging that, this great concept of doing a plastic surgery, especially the plastic surgery for the nose, with, so much of perfection, with the skin tone matching, the face, was done in our country thousands and thousands of years back by Sushruta. Our granthas speak about knowledge transfer to even babies when they are in the womb. We spoke about Parikshit, who was inside his mother's womb when Krishna protected him. And the moment Parikshit was born, Bhagavata Puranam says that he was searching for Krishna because he has seen him while he was in the womb. Similarly, Prahlada was in his mother's womb when Sage Narada taught him everything. That's why when he was born, he was a devotee of Lord Vishnu. All those were told in our scriptures. And today, the newspapers tell us that during pregnancy, children hear the sounds. So these are news articles which are coming up. And the fetus can memorize words are all mentioned as news items today. So they need to explore more. Our granthas give us a lot of information. Our granthas speak about the concept of time dilation. It speaks about the hydrology, which I was mentioning, which Sage Narada knew. So these were tested practically by Sri E.A.V. Prasad, where he went into different drought areas and brought in so much of water for those locations based on Varaha Mihira's Brihat Samhita Grantha. So many scientific explorations was done on hydrotherapy. These are some of the facts that was published wherever he went, how water was available exactly in the location which he identified based on the Brihat Samhita. The concept of earthquake clouds is also mentioned by Varaha Mihira, which was reported in Times of India paper, that a person, a scholar in California is now, finding out something like this, which is already mentioned in the Brihat Samhita. So we have great poetries, which, the Chandra Shastra is the foundation of all the poetry that we have. That speaks about, interestingly, Fibonacci series, Pascal's triangle, etc. We have the Pythagoras theorem, which is called as the Bodhayana Sutra. Earlier, we had used it in order to create the different, sacrificial rituals for which we used the Bodhayana Sutra to construct the altars. We had several geometry and measurements used for this. One such sutra among the 32 sutras is called as Pythagoras theorem today. The world's first poetry is there in the Valmiki Ramayana. So we can keep going on and on, the concept of infinity, the concept of zero, everything was mentioned in our scriptures. The Vimanas, the aeroplanes was mentioned in the Vedas itself, and then it's mentioned by Hanumanji in Ramayana. It's mentioned like so many times in the Ramayana and in the Mahabharata, the different types of Vimanas, how we could have the flights which could gain solar energy and also fly. We were having mercury-powered aircrafts, but we also had solar-powered aircrafts. We have a grantha which is called as Vaimanika Shastra, containing 8 chapters, 3,000 slokas, 100 different topics, 500 sutras, and 32 techniques of how to fly. So many interesting things are available. And the concept of gravity, was available to us at least 1,500 years before Newton. This was mentioned by the former ISRO chairman, Sri Mahadev Nairji, in one of the news items. So many such things we can keep on going. I usually do this kind of programs as a series of talks, and we keep exploring and covering so many different information. So as a summary, our Sanskritam, Sanatana Dharma, the concept of Samskriti, the jhana, the contemplation, evolving to the highest level that we can, all these have been handed over to us with thousands and thousands of years of refined knowledge, distillation. That's why the language itself is called as Sanskritam, Samyakritam, absolutely refined, which does not need anything more to be refined. Now we have to protect the language by speaking it, by transferring it, by exploring it. We should at least know the table of contents, because we go to one particular room and we feel that the light is not coming up. We go to another room, fan doesn't seem to work. We go to yet another room, aircon doesn't work. Now, where is the problem? What is lacking everywhere? The main electricity is not there. So we go, we check, and the power comes, everything starts working. So the key, the power is there in Sanskritam. The moment we know Sanskritam, we have the key to all the knowledge sources that is there. We can explore it, we can understand depending on where our interest is. And once we know Sanskritam, we can lift ourselves. Krishna says, Uddhare dhatmanatmanam na atmanam avasadayet atmaiva hyatmano bandhuhu atmaiva ripuratmanaha. For us to be our best friend, we have to elevate ourselves. Otherwise, we become our worst enemy. So we can lift ourselves or lower ourselves, but Bhagavan Krishna says, just elevate yourself. Never ever put yourself lower. So for us to raise, we need knowledge. The key to knowledge is Sanskritam. So I would conclude by saying, Vadatu Sanskritam, Jayatu Bharatam, and we have Samskrita Bharati, which helps us to understand the language. So I will request Sri Sudhir Mahodaya of Samskrita Bharati to explain about Samskrita Bharati in a few minutes. Jai Shri Krishna, Dhanyavadaha.
Jai Sadgurudev. Thank you so much, Praveena ji, for enlightening us with such a power-packed, knowledgeable session. I'm sure all our guests, all our audiences of today must be really benefited, and I'm sure it's going to help in stabilizing and channelizing our minds and thoughts to sink in and get coordinated, and definitely help us in meditation as well as in making and choosing the best healthy way of living on day-to-day basis. On this note, though we are running short of time, but there's so much to learn from you, ma'am. And I'm very glad to be part of this session. Thank you so much once again. Now, moving quickly to our next speaker guest of today, Shri Sudhir ji, and therefore I request to please switch on the video clip shared by him for an overall view of the upcoming topics by Sudhir ji. Just a quick intro about him. Sudhir ji is a software consultant by profession and one of the acting directors of Samskrita Bharati, Singapore. Apart from propagation of Sanskritam language, he is also interested in various cultural-driven programs and believes in practicing and propagating the lifestyle prescribed by Mother Nature. Welcome, a humble welcome to you, sir. Jai Sadgurudev, please enlighten all our audiences. Over to you, sir.
Namaskarams to each one of you. I hope I'm audible. We had a fantastic session from Praveena Bhagini, and I thank on behalf of Samskrita Bharati, not only to Praveena Bhagini, to Vihangam Yoga Singapore for conducting this program and giving us an opportunity to share some information about Sanskrit on whole. We heard from Praveena Bhagini, starting with knowledge and happiness. There is one more aspect also. The happiness comes when the fear is taken out. And this fear is existing everywhere. For example, with knowledge, you attack some part of the fear and get rid of it. Something else appears from different part of the nature. Why? Because the basic nature of nature, the prakriti or material life itself is to change. So if you try to get rid of one fear, it transforms into another form and gives you fear in some other form. For example, fear of losing money, fear of losing our own people, these kind of things, so fear will come. So our scriptures have beautifully explained that if you have to get rid of this fear completely, you have to turn inwards, not outwards. And there comes our Vihangam's efforts to get rid of the fear which is existing inside. And once get rid of that fear, he will be always happy. And the knowledge will be assisting him to reach the goal of your lives further. So without going deeper into other topics, I will just share about Samskrita Bharati, its activities. There were days when people were saying that Sanskrit is no more existing. It's almost a dead language. There, some great souls have started Samskrita Bharati in India back in 1980s. And they have put in a lot of effort, and now lakhs of people are learning Sanskrit in India and across the globe. And coming to Samskrita Bharati Singapore, we are here from 2000, early 2000 onwards, but we registered as a body in Singapore in 2016. And from then on, we have been facilitating students by accepting registrations on behalf of Samskrita Bharati India, followed by conducting examinations here itself, thus bringing Samskrita Bharati close to every resident of Singapore. So this makes them approach Samskrita Bharati easily. We have people here to contact them, and we conduct classes for them, and we are here to help them learn Sanskrit. Coming to our courses, we normally, not we as Samskrita Bharati as a whole, starts off by introducing Sanskritam to a beginner who doesn't have any information. It's wrong to say that people don't have Sanskritam knowledge. Why? Because all the Indic languages have at least 60% of Sanskrit in it, and leave even European languages also. Even Malay you talk, or any other European language you name, Sanskrit is there. For example, mother, brother came from matra, bratra. Example. These are few examples, and there are many such examples. So most of us know Sanskrit, and we formally teach or introduce Sanskrit with a 20 hours Sambhashana Shibiram initially, followed by teaching the script for those who don't know the Devanagari script. And then we allow them to join the regular courses. There are 4 levels of regular courses, and it takes about 2 years to finish off these 4 levels. And once you finish these 4 levels of courses, you are eligible to apply for Masters, MA in Sanskritam, Sahityam, or some other courses conducted by various universities in India. So after 4 levels, you are like a graduate in Sanskrit. And during this process, we have our teachers helping at every point of time. And for these students who are pursuing the courses and who have completed their courses, we, Samskrita Bharati Singapore, want to keep in touch and help in keeping that momentum on. We conduct some daily, weekly, monthly, and yearly programs. Daily programs, we have something like what Vihangam is doing. We also have a program called Daily Kathamala. That means a program wherein we have just storytelling. So every day, 7:30 p.m. Singapore time, there is a session which goes on. Like that, we have sessions in US. We have sessions conducted from Canada, UK, Middle East, as well as Singapore. So students from any part of the world can choose the timings based on their convenience. And we have weekly programs, something called Vadatu Sanskritam. And we have a program called Raghuvamsham, which is a Mahakavyam from Kalidasa. This is basically for senior students. We have monthly programs called Pratidhwani, a general discussion platform wherein students just join in, share their views, whatever they want. And also we have a table topic wherein a senior Karyakarta throws a table topic, and there will be a small discussion on that topic, which could be a current affairs or anything. And also we have yearly programs. It is normally celebrated during the World Sanskrit Day, that particular week which that day falls in. And during that particular week, we encourage all our students to perform whatever they have learned and then present it or share with the whole world. So for example, last Saptaha, we call it Saptaha, we celebrated with a theme of Mahakavyas. There are 5 Mahakavyas, and students have come up with a lot of dramas, skit, and some lectures about Mahakavyas. So apart from these, we also conduct some special dramas. We did some programs like Samskrita Sangeetam. Recently, we conducted a program. We invited a great singer from India and conducted a program called Samskrita Sangeetam, Sanskrit and Sangeetam, how they are linked. And so I should say that there's a lot happening here in Singapore. And hence, I personally request you all to join this learning drive of this divine Deva Bhasha. And together, let's take this forward and make it available for our next generation. Jayatu Samskritam, Jayatu Manukulam, Vande Samskrita Mataram. Dhanyavadaha. Thank you all for listening to me. Dhanyavadaha.
Jai Sadgurudev, thank you so much, Sudhirji, for all the valuable information just now you have shared. Now I request humbly my co-host Omji to please share the video clip so that our audiences connected around the world can have an overview of it. Thank you so much for the lovely video. Now we are open for the question answer session. And I request all the participants, whatever questions you have, you can be kindly guided by our lovely host for today. They are full of knowledge. So those who have their questions, kindly raise your hands, please. Our co-host will be unmuting each participant one by one. So please come up with your questions. Am I audible?
Yes.
Okay.
You could start, Deepali ji.
Okay, ma'am, so much thank you, Praveena ji and Sudhir ji. It is such an enlightening session for us. And we are very humbled by your kind presence and all the knowledge. Now I request our Shubhash ji to please come up for a vote of thanks.
Thank you very much, Deepali ji, for inviting me for a vote of thanks. I hope I'm audible enough. Can you please confirm?
Yes, sir.
Thank you. Ye trishapta paryanti vishwarupani vipratah vachaspate teshang tanno adya dadhatu me punarehi vachaspate manasa saha vashusyate niramaya maye vastu mayi shrutam. Thank you very much, Praveena ji and Sudhir ji, for your wonderful contribution today on this platform where we were listening to you about Sanskrit, a key to the knowledge. I think I was really amazed to see when Praveena ji was mentioning each and every details about how the sounds, how the aksharas, in fact, the description about the letter A, and how the Vedas and all the sounds have been created, all the names of the rishis, maharshis, including Rishi Vishwamitra and then Karnad, and then all different rishis and maharshis. I was really listening each and everything very carefully. For me, believe me, for me, it was just a quick Sanskrit lesson. Thank you very much for sharing your thoughts, sharing your knowledge, incredible knowledge about Sanskrit. I think we all should learn Sanskrit to a certain extent because it really can connect all of us within ourselves. As Praveena ji mentioned, that even nowadays, scientists are trying to understand, learn how the Sanskrit basically works and function, and they are trying to utilize it in their day-to-day life. Your example about that phonetic, and if somebody is having problem in his speech, Sanskrit gives a nice tool to identify the problem and rectify it in a very nice way. The gramophone example was such an interesting one. And in fact, there are many more examples in Sanskrit and even in science also, where we can very easily identify and see how much contribution Sanskrit had. I think all the science right now, inventions, whatever has been done, to my knowledge, there is nothing which is new. Everything has been done already by our rishis and maharshis in past. Some of them are noted down in text in Sanskrit or some other language also. Many of them are there which are not mentioned anywhere, but all those inventions are there. And as far as Sanskrit is concerned, what I know is about Rishiyo Mantra Drashtara. The rishis are there who actually see. See means doesn't mean by this eye to see. They experience all those sounds, all those letters and akshars during their samadhi state. And on that basis only, they jot down it in the language which we know as Sanskrit. Sadhguru Siddhafal Devji Maharaj has also mentioned a lot of things about different kinds of letters. And in fact, just quickly, I would like to share here what Swamiji has mentioned, that the power of the Brahma, the presence of the Brahma and a Para-Brahma, which enters to us since ever beginning, or the way we are connected to it, the one of the basic fine thin connection between the Atman and the Para-Brahma is actually through Akshar, is actually through the sound. And in fact, yesterday we only heard from Rekhaji in Udghosh, where Swamiji has mentioned that Pind Brahmanda Shunya Jo Arasat Tau Par Baithaunga. He mentioned about 68 Shunya, means void, in which 34 are the Vyanjan, means the consonants, if you say in English, 12 are the swaras, 4 are the types of Vani, Parapashanti, Madhyama, Bakri, and then 3 are Sanjuktakshar, means combined, Chhatra, Gya, and then 5 are divine sounds, which are Rarang, then Sohang, Shakti, Om, and Niranjan. And there are 10 Anhats, which are the musical notes. These all together combined give you the 68 sounds, which are happening inside our skull, inside this body. And in fact, he mentioned that there are three types of experiences. One is called Varnanatmak, means based on the letters and aksharas. One is Dhanyatmak, means based on sound, which we cannot write it down, but we can still hear and experience it. And so Varnanatmak, Dhanyatmak, and one is Anubhavatmak, which is actually being experienced at a level of soul, which doesn't have any specific language to write it down. Sanskrit is something which can connect us in and out everywhere, no doubt. Probably it is a little bit difficult for many of us because we are not connected to our root. Thank you very much, Pravina ji, for giving us an opportunity to connect ourselves, at least to give a think, to connect ourselves to our root, our own root, our root of the soul, root of our ancestors, root of everything which is Sanskrit. I'm sure many of us would like to learn many more things from Sanskrit Bharati Singapore, as well as other part of Sanskrit Bharati in the world, wherever you are present. Once again, thank you very much for joining with us on this particular platform. I'm sure this association of Vihangam Yoga Singapore and Sanskrit Bharati Singapore would continue in a much more better and efficient and much more happy way to learn from each other a lot, many things. Thank you very much, Dipali ji, for your wonderful host today. And thank you very much for your wonderful mention of each and everything what you mention and coordinating with each single of us on this particular platform. Thank you very much, Chandanji, for reading or singing the Swagat Gan and Mangal Gan. Just one more thing I would like to highlight here. In fact, Sanskrit is something which is very close to me, which is very close to my heart. When I was a student, I mean, still I'm a student, consider myself, but when I was a student in a school, I used to speak in Sanskrit actually. And I really feel a little bit sad whenever I remember that, oh, now I am not habituated to speak in Sanskrit or not able to understand each and everything in Sanskrit probably. But nevertheless, I think it has been considered as a language only, but Sanskrit probably is much more than language. It is much more than language. If you know from the recent news, different countries, say Germany, is allowing this language, Sanskrit, not just as a language, but much more than that, to allow to be a curriculum in their schools, in their colleges also. And I'm sure in India, there has been so many things going on already. Just for quick information, Vihangam Yoga also has a Gurukul based in India, in Varanasi, where lots of students are learning Sanskrit at a school level, at a Mahavidyalaya level. We do all of these free of cost. So thank you very much. This is the main reason why I wanted to highlight this particular item, Sanskrit, so that we don't forget about it. This is the Matri language, language of all languages. So once again, everyone, thank you very much. And please do not forget to meditate on a daily basis. Meditate daily, submit your report daily, and push yourself a little bit harder, more, to come out from your comfort zone, to explore much more, not just outside. As Sudhirji mentioned, that the journey is to go inside. Meditation can help you to a larger extent. And one more thing, just quickly, probably it should be reflected on the slide. Please join any one of these sessions which has been created, designed, and reflected to all of you. It is available on the website also, just one single click, and you can reach out to any one of these countries' daily meditation practice session. We have organized this for each one of you. Please join, practice, and imbibe the spirituality within. Purify yourself, control the mind to a larger extent as much as possible. Thank you very much, and back to you, Dipali ji.
Jai Sadguru, thank you so much, Subhash ji, for vote of thanks. Now I kindly request Gajendra ji to please come up for the Shanti part and bless and help each one of us to get blessed by the Sadguru's blessings. Over to you, Gajendra ji.
Thank you so much, Dipali ji, and Jai Sadgurudev. हे प्रभु शांति स्वरूप हो, शांति शांति में शांति, शांति शांति जन शांति हो, पूर्ण शांति में शांति। हे प्रभु शांति प्रदान कर, दूर हो सर्व अशांति, देव सदा फल शांतिमय, शांति शांति सुख शांति। जय गुरुदेव।
Jai Sadgurudev. Thank you, Gajendra ji, for the Shanti part. And on this note, we come to the end of our today's agenda of Sanskritam and Sanskriti. Again, I would like to thank the guest of today, Praveena ji and Sudhir ji, for coming up with such wonderful power-packed session, and the team of Vihangam Yoga and the Vihangam Yoga Singapore team for organizing such enlightening sessions. I'm sure all the participants who are connected from around the globe, we were live also on the Facebook. So everyone, please share the links. Keep meditating, helping yourself is the challenge of me versus me. Keep trying to purify your mind, your body, and your soul. Jai Sadgurudev. Signing off for today. Thank you. Jai Sadgurudev.